Hey everybody, so lately I've seen a lot of people talk about cost basis and capital gains. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about tax lots. Now, some of you may know that these exist, some of you may have never heard of this. So the best way that I could talk about tax lots is to just go straight into an example. So a tax lot is basically a transaction, and based off this transaction, you are going to be taxed in a certain way. So let's say we bought Apple 10 times, and let's just say that Apple's been going up straight for 10 days. So on January 1st, we purchased 10 shares at $140. And then all the way here on January 10th, we purchased 10 shares at $185. We have all these transactions in between. So each of these transactions is considered its own tax law. So what we see on our brokerage account is going to be 100 shares with a total purchasing price of $16,250. And it's going to show us this average basis of 162.5. Now, let's say 10 days later, it's January 20th, okay? And Apple is trading at 170. Now, let's just say we want to sell 30 shares, okay? So you're going to think, oh, well, my profit is going to be 170 minus my average cost, which is 162.5, and then I'm going to multiply that by 30. But that is not the case. So your brokerage account is going to actually have a default to FIFO. So FIFO is a abbreviation. It means first in, first out. LIFO means last in, first out. And you could request highest or lowest. So your highest basis out goes first. Your lowest basis out goes first. So what does this mean? It means if I sold 30 shares and we're going by FIFO, what's going to happen is that the first 30 shares that get sold are going to be these first three tax lots because these were the first lots that you purchased. Okay? So why does this matter? Well, it matters because you're going to get taxed a little bit differently than what you may have thought. So let's just look at this example right here. We have tax lot 1, 2, and 3. We sold 30 shares and we bought in increments of 10. So that means 10 is being sold, 10 is being sold, and 10 is being sold for a total of 30. So these first three are going out first, okay? Now, our basis is going to be different for each of these because I told you each of these tax lots is its own transaction with its own basis. So our basis here is 140, 145, and 150. Now we sold at 170. This selling price is the same throughout all of these tax lots, okay? Now what is our gain? Well, our gain here is $300 on tax lot 1. It's $250 on tax lot 2 and $200 on tax lot 3. So what are our total gains? Well, it's $750. Now, you may have thought that you made less gains because you are basing it off this average basis. So this is why it's important because you're going to get taxed on $750 of short-term capital gains. So it's going to be a lot more tax than you had originally planned for. So why is FIFO important? Well, because of the reason that I just showed you, and also it's the default of your brokerage account. So in my opinion, I think FIFO is better just because, well, let's say that you bought Apple and you sold it a year later. Well, if you sold it a year later, you would want the most favorable tax outcome. And the most favorable tax outcome would be long-term capital gains. So your first tax lots that you bought, so let's say later, let's say it's January 2nd the next year. Now, you would want to sell these first two lots because that will mean that you have long-term capital gains on these first two lots because you've held them for over a year. But I mean, you would probably want to wait like a few days, just to make sure that that 1 year is set in. So That's why I prefer FIFO, just because I think it makes the most sense for people who are holding a little bit longer, you know? And let's talk about LIFO here. So in this same scenario, let's say we sold 30 shares. So what's going to happen with LIFO is that the last in is the first out. So we're looking at tax law 8, 9, and 10. So on 8, 9, and 10, we have a basis of 185, 180, and 175. So now we sold at 170. This is the same throughout. And now our total losses is minus $300. So you would have thought, oh, well, I'm only going to lose a little bit if I sell, or I'm actually going to gain a little bit if I sell at 170 because my average is 162.5. But no, 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 that's totally wrong. You actually lost money. So when you actually go and you get your tax form, you're going to be baffled. You're going to say, well, why did I lose money? Well, it's because you followed LIFO. And I don't really know how it works for every single brokerage, but for a lot of them, you have to request to change your tax preference. But I just recommend it's better to just stick with one. And it's good to stay aware that these tax lots exist. But there's also something important to know. If I just decided to sell all 100 shares at 170, well, then it's going to follow this average basis because I'm closing out my entire position. So when you close out your entire position, none of this matters. It's just going to be your basis and what you sold for. So your gains are going to be $7.50 per share, and it's 100 shares. So you made $750. But that only applies when you close out your entire position and you close it out all within like the same year or something. Then it's all taxed as short-term capital gains. So that's just something important that you should be aware of. Now, let's say we're going to do highest basis out first or lowest basis out first. So based on my example here, if we do lowest basis out first, what's going to happen is that, the ones that we bought first are going to go out first. If we do highest basis for out first, well, the ones that we bought last are going to go out first. So it's going to work the same way as LIFO and FIFO based off this example. But that might not always be the case because you're going to be buying at different price points. You're not going to be buying like this fictitious example. I mean, this probably isn't going to happen all that often. So this is just a little bit information about tax lots and why you should be aware of it. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you're not surprised come tax time. Thank you very much.